Okay, guys, the watch list for Monday, June 20th. Let's start just by glancing at the SPY. Last couple days, it is down below the 50-day. Last couple days did find buyers down to around 206. Keep in mind this week possible market moving event with the Brexit vote. And so that is definitely something to be aware of. I mean, I don't know which way it's going to go. Nobody does. But, just keep in mind it's always important as a trader to know kind of the macro picture of something big could be coming up. So, all right, that's my take on that. Um, so let's go into the list for Monday. And a quick reminder, I am a day trader. So this list I put out every night is meant to find me stocks that I can watch that very next session and make some money, get back to cash before the close. So I'm never exposed overnight, and all my money is made on an intraday basis. That is the style I've settled on after doing this for well over a decade. It's the style I'm most comfortable with. Some people are swing traders, some people are investors. I would rather put my money to work on an intraday basis and then hopefully, in theory, have every day be a green day instead of coming home from work and say, well, two of my five positions were red today and so on. And so even if you make money here, you're losing money here and so on. It's just the way I'm wired. So that's the way I handle it. So anyway, enough of that. Smith & Wesson, SWHC, gapped up on earnings on Friday. Sold off a bit, but closed in the upper end of its range. So that one goes on watch for a possible low risk long setup on Monday. We'll see, and that's one with that volume and after earnings. That's one we're going to watch all week. So keep that in mind. A lot of these you'll see on the list day after day. Like I might not get a trade in some of these for 3 or 4 days. They might not give me an intraday setup. But then maybe by Thursday or Friday, I'll have a setup in them. So, but you'll see that on a lot of these. LL, same thing. I like this pop. It had resistance back here, the 16 area. So it went through it and closed below it. But I like the volume. I like the chart a lot. This one really looks good if it can get over Friday's high, which is basically 1650-ish, right? But that doesn't mean that's the only place I'm going to buy it. It might give a low risk setup. It might flag right around the whole number 16 on Monday and then give us a nice breakout. So having stocks like this on a chart can allow you to catch a really nice trade on an intraday basis. So that's what I try to do. Populate my charts with these possible movers. This one's a little different. TERP. This is not a bullish chart by any stretch, but it has 4 or 5 days support in this area and then a volume spike on Friday. So this one might continue. And then when I saw this, I just looked at GLBL to see how it looks, and it's trying to pop up too because those two run together. So maybe these two have bottomed. I think they're both worth watching, but TERP is the one I'm going to watch. Again, not really a bullish chart, but nice volume and nice support below. So maybe this thing's ready to start taking off to the upside. Zillow, the letter Z, and you can see here, hasn't been trading for that long. Looks like it came public in maybe August of 2015, and then put in its all-time high up until recently of like 33.62, I think. Gapped up just below that a couple of weeks ago, and now is really starting to move up to new all-time highs. So really, it looks like Friday was really the first day that it broke out of this range after the gap up. So I'm just looking for a continuation of that move on Monday. MTCH. This is actually a pretty clean setup. You had this pop here, again, a relatively new issue, right? And then you had another pop to visit all-time highs, basically, and then a really pretty clean 3-day pullback. So that one goes on bounce watch for Monday. CLRB. This one's a little weird and kind of a tough trader, but it had a nice pop here, secondary pop, and really you can see a nice flag here. It had nice volume. I guess this was Wednesday, then Thursday and Friday did next to nothing. But if this can get back through, say back through 4, then people might start looking for a push to this 458 right here. And if it gets over that, the chart looks really pretty at that point. So it doesn't cost me anything to have CLRB on a chart, and so I will. GBIM, now this one's extended. But this is one I'm going to start it on watch. Actually, it's been on watch all last week too. But I'm going to put it on the watch list for Monday. But really, I don't anticipate, like a trade in this maybe till Wednesday or Thursday. Who knows? Anything can happen. But this certainly extended. But just goes on watch. Keep this on your radar all week. I give you an example of an intraday setup that I love. Let me go back to this real quick. So GBIM looked like this. We had this on watch because you had this spike here. then a big volume spike here, and then another big volume spike here. So my thinking was, this was on watch 4 Friday, my thinking was if this breaks 217, it could come up and take out this recent high of 242 and maybe challenge this high and so on. So you had what I like to call stacked catalysts. And so I had this on watch for Friday, all right? Remember, 218 is an area of interest for me based on the daily chart. Okay, but this is the opening 5-minute candle on GBIM, right? So it's in a range from 189 to 203-ish. Let me double check that. Yeah, 202.99. I don't know how that happened. So basically 203. So it's in this 5-minute range, and on the next candle it started to move up. I called this in the chat room over 2. The thinking is if it gets through the whole number 2, there's a catalyst just above, which is a high of day break, right? 204. And just above that you have Thursday afternoon's high of 209, and then just above that, then you're getting to that 218, which is a great place to buy it on the daily chart. So we had stacked catalyst with a catalyst above not that far away, right? So that's one of my favorite setups. So I just call this over 201. Yeah, I think I said worst case stop, probably a dime, something like that. I can't really remember, but look at that. So it just immediately gets through 2, gets through the high of the day, gets through the afternoon high from Thursday, and then right through Thursday's high, and continued and closed at its high. So that was a great low risk setup. 201, the thing goes to almost 340 on a dime risk. There's an example. If you wonder, when you see my watch list and you see something like GBIM on watch, there's an example of how it would be called in my chat room on an intraday basis, and was called on Friday, and that was my biggest gainer of the day. EXAS had the pop here, then the gap up and sold off, but then right back up near recent highs. So this one's got to go on watch. Let's see what it looks like on 15s. I mean, I'll have a trigger price based on the daily, obviously over this 3-day high, but as I just alluded to with GBIM, we might get a better setup. So this one has to go on watch though because of this big move. I love the fact that sellers came in here, and those sellers are all pretty much underwater, right? So this one might just make another big move next week. We're going to keep that one on watch. That's EXAS. MGT, really big 2-day move, and then on Friday stayed inside of Thursday's range. So it still feels a little extended to me, but that one, when it moves, it moves. So I'm going to start watching it tomorrow. And then lastly, I have AKAO, which is kind of a choppy, sloppy chart. But you had this big move here up to over 6, right? Then it bounced to 450. Looked like it was rolling over. Next thing you know, it gaps up and goes to almost 5, but closes at its lows. Very next day, gaps up and closes near those highs. And then on, Thursday, it actually had a really nice intraday rip. And so the reason these interest me is when I see a move, these are 15-minute candles. So let me go to maybe 5s just to give you a better example. So when I see a move on a stock that basically went from a low of 450 to almost 550, right? And really, we had a 15-minute move here of 472 to 537 in 15 minutes. That's a real less than 15 minutes really. That's a really nice percentage move, and it's holding up okay. Let's go back to 15s. Friday's high was 485. So I mean that's kind of an area of interest over Friday's high, but this is one because of these moves and these big volume spikes like here and this move. You want to have this one on watch. All right, it doesn't look like the cleanest trader. But I'm going to have that one on watch too. I'm a big fan of these lower float, lower price stocks because of the percentage moves they can make in a short period of time. GBIM being a great example. So you don't see Apple making 50% moves or whatever that was in one day. So that's kind of where I put my focus. Recent high flyers, low float, lower price stocks. A lot of money to be made, but you got to have them on charts. You got to be ready for the low risk setups. All right. That's enough babbling. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. And we'll be back at it on Monday. I'll put another video out Monday night. Have a good weekend.